Good morning, everyone. AstroMommy here. It's time to get into your weekly horoscope. Daily and weekly horoscopes are like a cosmic weather report, helping us navigate the ever-changing seasons of life. My subscribers tell me all the time how helpful the horoscopes have been for them. It's my hope they will be helpful for you too. In this video, we are going to go over the most important events of each day of this week by looking at the chart of the day. And then in a second video, I will do a collective tarot reading for the week using the traditional Celtic cross spread. On Thursday, there is an almost lunar eclipse happening in Aries, a full moon in Aries. And I'm going to post a video with horoscopes for all 12 signs for that full moon on Thursday. Okay, let's get into the astrology. All times are in Eastern Time, unless mentioned otherwise. Monday, October 14th, 2024. The moon is in Pisces all day. It's a day that we're going to be connecting with our emotions and our intuition. We could be feeling very emotional on Monday. You may have already felt pretty emotional over the weekend. I know that I did. You could also be feeling really sentimental and possibly easily distracted. Best thing to do with the moon in Pisces is to tune into your intuition and do some art. Do something that is creative and artistic, or listen to music, dance, draw, paint, meditate, or read poetry. Early in the morning on Monday at 4:15 a.m., the Sun in Libra perfected his square to Mars. So we have the Sun right here and perfected a square to Mars in Cancer. This transit makes us fight for our lives. This is a combination that gives us the will to live, and it activates our survival instinct. The square puts it to the test. So this could be as simple as feeling a lot of pressure to produce something. Maybe you overdid it over the weekend, or maybe you had an argument with someone and you feel inflamed still. This is inflammation, anger issues, and just general feelings of upset. This could also have to do with doing something hastily, or being really stubborn about something, or just feeling really restless, right? It has, as I said last Friday, the signatures of violence, rage, and quarrelsomeness. People are ready to fight with this energy of the Sun square Mars. How can we use this in a positive way? With competitions. The Moon square Mars is actually a really good signature for competing in things, because it gives you that drive to win, succeed, and claw your way to the top, right? It's that type of energy. It's not great for working with others, but it is really great for trying to push yourself to be the best that you can be. One caveat to this is that you could have accidents or injury or strain yourself by doing that, by pushing yourself really far. So definitely have to keep an eye out for that. At 2:08 p.m., the moon will conjoin Saturn in Pisces retrograde. When the moon and Saturn get together, it is always about controlling our emotions and having self-control. So we may feel limited today, or that we are hitting boundaries, walls, or rules, like red tape is in our way. But this energy could be good if you need discipline, you need endurance and tolerance for something. This is an interesting combination with the Sun square Mars, which could manifest as angry outbursts, whereas the moon with Saturn is going to produce a controlled attitude. So this is kind of like the moon and Saturn are reining in the Sun and Mars energy. And so this combination has the potential to be very productive when used effectively. This has the feeling of like an Olympic athlete who is having to stay emotionally calm and collected while competing in something where the stakes are very, very high, and there's a lot of pressure to perform a certain way. At 6:21 p.m., Venus will oppose Uranus in Taurus retrograde. This combination indicates sudden, unexpected situations that come up in our relationships or with our finances. It could also mean something happens with an important woman in your life, like a sister, aunt, or a daughter. This could mean we are swayed by our feelings in a relationship or our desires, and the opposition means we have to make a choice about something. So something suddenly makes itself known, and then we have to respond to it. With the other influences, this could mean we are upset about something or fired up, and we have to react in an emotionally mature way. In a romantic relationship, This could mean we decide to do something completely out of the blue with our partner. That adds an air of excitement or eccentricity to the day and could lead us on a surprising love adventure of sorts. But it's an all or nothing type of thing, and it changes things going forward. So just choose wisely, right? So all day on Monday, the energy is building between the moon and Neptune as the moon gets closer and closer to conjoining Neptune, which will perfect on Tuesday. So let's move on to Tuesday. Now, Tuesday is a transition day. The moon is going to be leaving Pisces and entering Aries later in the day. She does a few things before we get to that point, so we're going to go over those real quick. First, earlier in the morning, the moon is going to be making a square to Jupiter. So we have a square here from the moon to Jupiter. That could mean that you feel like your beliefs are being challenged in some way and you have to defend yourself and what you believe. Then the moon will be making a trine to Mars. Moon trine Mars means quick action and effort applied, and actions are really easy to take. And also it just means that Tuesday is a really good day to show your leadership skills. So I'm really liking that. Next, at 10:58 a.m., the moon makes a sextile to Uranus in Taurus retrograde. And that could mean that whatever exciting or surprising thing happened yesterday when Venus opposed Uranus, that now today we are actually processing it and taking it into ourselves, like on an internal emotional level. And it carries with it some possibilities. So we're now trying to think of, how could this actually benefit my life? How could I use this new energy, this new surprising thing that happened, that maybe we felt threatened about, but now we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure out how to integrate that energy into our lives. So that is positive. Then at 12:28 p.m., the moon will make a nice trine to Venus. And that means love, affection, romance, and ease and flow in our relationships and also with our finances today, right? So it's a beautiful aspect that's going to really color the whole day on Tuesday and could make it really, really pleasant. Right after that, at 1:09 p.m., the moon does conjoin Neptune and perfect the conjunction to Neptune, which I have shown here on this chart. This adds to this beautiful energy between the moon and Venus in that trine. So it's kind of like a double trine between Venus. The moon trine Venus, and Venus will be perfecting that trine to Neptune later on Tuesday evening. So it's a really, really feel-good time when we may feel drawn towards art or nature, relaxation, music, doing something that honors the ocean, as Neptune is the god of the sea, right? Enjoying art, music, nature, beauty, and paying attention to your dreams. You could have a lot of intuitive insights with this. And it's a really pleasant, beautiful aspect. So I'm really loving this for Tuesday. I think Tuesday is going to be a really nice day because of that. Then the moon will enter Aries at 4:34 p.m. She's going to be entering the sign of Aries, leaving the dreamy, surreal, compassionate, watery sign of Pisces and enter the fiery, spirited, and pioneering leadership energy of Aries. So it's going to be a get up and go energy. Let's do this now. So the energy is going to really shift come late afternoon on Tuesday. And what we have to look forward to is that moon conjoining the North Node on Wednesday. So that takes us to the Wednesday chart. On Wednesday, the moon is going to be in Aries all day. And I cast the chart here for the moment that the moon conjoined the North Node. At 3:05 a.m. Eastern Time, the moon makes that conjunction to the North Node. And that means that there is a lot of energy supporting us today and our drive and our ambitions and what we're identifying with. And we could be identifying with a group that values freedom and independence, which are two very Aries traits, right? So after the moon conjoins the North Node at 10:43 a.m., the moon's going to make a semi-square to Uranus in Taurus. The semi-square to Uranus in Taurus means that whatever surprising things we've been dealing with this week, they're experiencing some delays. So we may have had something surprising happen on Monday. Tuesday, we're trying to integrate it, figure out how to make it work with our life. And then Wednesday, we might be ready to implement those new things, but there are delays. There are things that we have to do first in order for us to be able to make the next steps on that. And that's what that semi-square is suggesting. Then there's also a sesquiquadrate from the moon to Venus on Wednesday. And again, this taps into whatever thing happened on Monday or maybe even over the weekend, because as you guys know, the transits will build up a few days before, perfect, and then slowly recede a few days after. It's kind of like a waveform. So over the weekend, the energy of Venus opposing Uranus could have really been building up, peaked on Monday, and now we're dealing with the aftermath of that. Whatever surprising thing came out of the woodwork, whatever surprising opportunity or surprising dilemma in our relationships or something like that, or being pulled in two different directions, something came out of left field on over the weekend or on Monday. And now we are trying to integrate it. And we're trying to figure out how to move forward. So that is a big theme for Wednesday, is trying to figure out what to do next. Taking that initiative with the moon in Aries and that leadership drive and that get things going type of energy that Aries has, and try to figure out where to put it, right? Okay, so on Thursday, we have our full moon in Aries, and the full moon is going to be happening at 7:26 a.m. You can see the sun here in the left-hand side of the chart, about the 8 o'clock position on the chart wheel, and the moon here is over at right after the 2 o'clock position on the chart wheel. The sun is at 24 degrees Libra, 35 minutes, and the moon is at 24 degrees Aries, 35 minutes. This is a full moon. You can see the north node here at 6 degrees Aries. Now, in order for it to be an eclipse, it is usually between 15 degrees of the node. And since we are just a little bit past that at 18 degrees, that's why this is called an almost lunar eclipse, because it's really, really close, but it's not quite there. So as I said in the introduction of this video, I will be making horoscopes for all 12 signs for the full moon, which I'm going to post on Thursday. That's going to be a separate video for this week. So what do we have going on in this full moon chart? Because all of these things are important signatures for this full moon chart. So we have the sun and moon both in squares still to Mars. So this full moon has this flavor of Mars in it. Squares to Mars. This is not easy. This is challenging. This is irritations. This is anger. This is vulnerabilities, because we also still had that opposition to Chiron. And Chiron here is very close to the moon here in this full moon chart. So the signatures that we have going on in this full moon have to do with what happened on Sunday. Were you feeling vulnerable? Were you feeling upset about something? Were you feeling like you'd been putting a lot of effort into something and you weren't seeing the rewards? With Libra, we want things to be just and fair. We want to see that the effort that we're putting out is receiving back in an equal manner. There's a balance of a give and take, right? And with the opposition to Chiron, we could have been feeling like there was not a balance. There was something that was unfair going on. And with the squares to Mars, this is feeling upset and angry about it, especially with Mars in Cancer, where Mars feels really defeated and weakened by being in such a watery emotional sign. So instead of just being fired up and, ready to go fight and having tons and tons of energy, Mars is more apt to complain and feel sorry for himself when he's in Cancer and feel like, why doesn't the world give me any breaks? Why am I being put through all of these challenging tests, right? So this full moon is having all of those signatures along with it. Now, on a good note, let me erase these lines here so I can show you a few good things. On a good note, the moon is in a nice sextile to Jupiter in this full moon, and that represents that there are opportunities for our future. We do see a vision. There are things that we can see culminating on the horizon. We just have to go and take it, or we just have to take a risk in order to see it come to fruition. The sextile is not something that just falls in your lap and you are able to take advantage of it, or just happens without you doing any effort. The sextile represents an opportunity that you then need to take action on in order for it to manifest. It just represents that there is a door open. You still have to walk through it. That's where the squares and the oppositions come in, because those are the transits that represent us taking action, us making decisions. So there is an opportunity. Are we going to walk through that door or not? This is where the moon square Mars comes in, and we get that drive and that willingness, or that energy to fight for what we want and what we want to have come into our lives. Okay, so because this is a full moon, this represents a culmination and a celebration or an ending, because the moon has waxed full. She's at her fullest capacity. So this could be that we are at the end of something and we are celebrating how far we've come. But with that also comes the fact that we know that after this peak, it's downhill from here. We're going to be going through the process of stepping into a new chapter or a new season or doing something differently. And so that's why a full moon has the dual signature of celebrating something is coming to fruition, something has manifested, it's beautiful, it's a beautiful, bright, big full moon. And it also has that dual signification of ending, because that's as high as it goes. This is as full as the moon can get. This is the most light that she can take in. This is the most that she can reflect, right? All right, so then we have two transitions that happen after the full moon on Thursday, and that is that Venus will enter Sagittarius at 3:28 p.m. So you can see Venus here at 29 degrees Scorpio, 35 minutes early in the morning. And then if we advance the chart just a little bit to the afternoon on Thursday, you can see Venus here at the top of the chart at 0 degrees Sagittarius. Now the moon's going to also leave Aries and enter Taurus shortly after Venus does her ingress into Sagittarius. You can see the moon down here has already entered Taurus in this chart at 0 degrees Taurus, 16 minutes. The moon enters Taurus at 3:59 p.m. on Thursday. So that's really a back-to-back ingress. And what this means is that there is a huge transition on Thursday. We have this big full moon, which means an ending, a culmination point. And then right after that full moon, Venus ingresses into another sign. So this means there's a relationship change and there's a financial change. And then right after that, the moon also ingresses into a new sign. So that means that we feel emotionally different about things, okay? Now the moon in Taurus is exalted. So moving from Aries to Taurus is actually a really great thing. It means that emotionally we're going to be feeling more confident. We're going to be feeling more of ourselves, more comfortable, and more ready to be passionate about life and we're going to feel less like fighting and surviving and trying to make our point and trying to compete against things, and more into how do we enjoy life? How do we take in all the good things of life and we enjoy them? The good food, the good people, all of the beautiful things, all of the luxuries that we can have in life, whatever we value in life, that's what we like to enjoy when the moon is in Taurus, what we find valuable. So if that is good food and good conversation, then that's what you're going to be doing. If that is, nice cars and jewelry, and fancy dinners, then that's what you're going to be doing. Whatever you find most valuable when the moon's in Taurus, that's when you're going to be drawn towards those things that you like to do. Another reason why this transition is going to be so potent is because right before the moon actually moves into Taurus, she will make a square to Pluto. Okay, when she's at 29 degrees Aries, 38 minutes, she will be squaring Pluto. Now, this means that truthful feelings are going to come up, and it's not always stuff we like to look at. It's not always stuff we like to feel. It's not always stuff we like to talk about, okay? So this is a really, really big transition. Pluto means death, transformation, and irrevocable change. So we are going through an irrevocable change on this full moon. Things are changing in our circumstances, with our finances, with our relationships. This is a really big, potent full moon, and it has so much energy along with it because of the squares to Mars. So it's going to be a big one. Now, on Thursday, the energy is building up for the moon's opposition to Mercury in Scorpio. And that's what we're going to talk about in this next segment. All right, so here we are on Friday. Now, Friday, the only thing that's really happening is that the moon in Taurus is going to be making an opposition to Mercury in Scorpio. So this definitely brings up what we are feeling in opposition to what we are thinking. And this could mean that there's misunderstandings between us and others. Possibly there are dilemmas of things that we're trying to figure out what we're going to do about. and we're feeling a certain way, and we're also thinking a certain way, and we're being pulled in two different directions, right? So there's going to be a lot of effort to try to bring our mind and our hearts onto the same page because they're going to be feeling like they're in polar opposites for some reason on Friday. It could also represent that whatever's coming out in the news is very shocking to the people, and they don't know what to do with it. They don't necessarily want to believe it because it feels so foreign to them. So definitely our thoughts, our emotions could be at a standstill. This also could represent traffic delays or delays with transportation. So definitely keep that in mind on Friday. Let's move on to Saturday because over the weekend we have a yod perfecting. So let's get into Saturday and Sunday. Now, on Saturday, it's another transition day. The moon starts in Taurus on Saturday and enters Gemini in the afternoon. You can see the moon here in Gemini on the left-hand side of the chart about 9 o'clock. Now, before we get into the moon's opposition to Venus, which you can see with this bright red line, I want to talk about what is happening with the sun. So the sun is over here at about the 4 o'clock position on the wheel. And the sun is making two quincunxes, one over to Neptune and one over to Uranus. Uranus and Neptune are in a sextile with each other. They're within a degree or so of each other of perfecting this sextile. And this configuration is what is known as a yod, the finger of God or the finger of fate. And it means that something unexpected with this Uranus energy is trying to work together with some sort of ideal or some sort of fantasy that we might have about life in general and how it can work to our advantage. And the sun is trying to work with these energies and make it so. The sun is trying to bring the spiritual energy in harmony with this sudden disruptive energy and trying to make it all make sense and work together. So we have this big yod that is happening. Now, at the same time, we have the moon. So let me go ahead and just erase these here. Now, on the same day, we have the moon in opposition to Venus, which you can see here. And the moon is also making a trine to Pluto. Before the moon enters Gemini in the afternoon, she will make a trine to Pluto. And this transit can represent sort of like rapid and swift change of our circumstances that kind of just comes in and could be leaving us and could leave us feeling very disoriented, almost like we've been washed over by a tsunami, or big gust of wind has come in, or since this is earth signs, there's some sort of like landslide of information or feelings or knowledge that we've now procured, and now we don't exactly know what to do with this. Then the moon is going to oppose Venus after she enters Gemini. So this is definitely a challenge in our relationships with our partner, or maybe a significant woman in your life, like a sister or a daughter or something like that. Now, we already had Venus opposed Uranus earlier in the week that created a lot of tension in our relationships and with our finances because of something coming in that was very disruptive and sudden. And now the moon is met with Uranus, made the trine to Pluto, and now is opposing Venus herself. So whatever happened earlier in the week, now it's really personal, and we're having to figure it all out, right? So this weekend definitely feels like we are coming to a crossroads where we're making decisions about all of these things that have come up in this last week. Moving on to Sunday, the moon is going to be in Gemini all day. You can see the moon here at 13 degrees Gemini, 15 minutes. I cast this chart for when the moon will make a square to Saturn. That's going to be a big transit that colors all day Sunday, and actually we'll probably feel it all weekend, right? So when the moon squares Saturn, that is like hitting a red light. We are coming up against some sort of boundary. We're having a reality check moment. Whatever we've been dealing with over the week that was sudden and unexpected and that we've had to make all of these adjustments for, we are now hitting another wall or another limitation where we feel trapped and we're not sure what to do. Thankfully, the moon is close to Jupiter. She will be conjoining Jupiter next, which means hope and blessings and aid and help are coming to us. So on Sunday, we definitely have this energy between the moon and Saturn in this square. Additionally, the moon and Saturn are both making sesquiquadrates to the sun here at 27 degrees Libra. at the top of the chart here. And what that means is this is throwing a Thor's hammer to the sun. Thor's hammer is a dynamic transit combination where you have two planets, such as the moon and Saturn, in a square, and then they are both throwing 135-degree sesquiquadrate angles towards a third planet. And what this means is that the two planets in the square are really pushing on that third planet to express what they want to express. So we have the moon and Saturn that are definitely feeling like, hey, we're at the end of our rope. We've hit a wall. We've hit, a boundary of some sort. But we are trying to figure out how to deal with that. We're having a reality check. What do we do? And they're both throwing these rays towards the sun. And the sun is going to have to express this or try to express this. Now, the sun in Libra wants to be amenable, wants to bring peace and harmony and love and joy and beauty and artistry to the situation, right? So the sun's going to try to figure out how to create all of those energies, how to express all of those energies in a creative, beautiful, harmonious way that's aesthetically pleasing to all. There's definitely this aggressive energy of trying to push towards something and some sort, master something in some way and get it out there. We also have the square from the sun to Pluto building up, which is going to perfect next week. And we're going to be getting into that in next week's horoscope. So coming up later this week, we have a collective tarot reading for the week. We have a full moon horoscopes for all 12 signs on the almost lunar eclipse full moon on Thursday. And then next week, the sun will be squaring Pluto, and we're going to be talking about that. He's also going to be ingressing into the sign of Scorpio. So next week is a big one. Can't wait for it. So stay tuned for next week's videos. All right, until tomorrow, this is AstroMommy, your guiding light in the dark.